No, because seriously, all we need is one director with the courage, the gall, and the audacity to give us the Bronze Age as it should be, and that does involve boar-tusked helmets. Let's get Matt Damon dressed up properly. First things first, we have a couple of options when it comes to late Bronze Age armor. And yes, this is some real, actual Mycenaean late Bronze Age armor, so this is period authentic. Exact armor styles did tend to vary depending on where you lived and what your artistic preferences were in the Mediterranean at that time. But as this is the late Bronze Age, we're going to be working with bronze. This was a time period when we started getting the very beginnings of plate armor, but scale mail was also a solid option. And this was a style that was in use in multiple places in the ancient world. Here's a close-up of a scale from ancient Egypt. And here's a nice close-up of that first set of armor that I showed you. Again, this is real. This is actually Mycenaean. This is what Odysseus could be wearing. If we want to have more fun with it, this is likely a more appropriate option for our boy Odysseus. This is a reconstructed set of armor based on actual historical armors with a bit of flair, because the late Bronze Age and the Bronze Age in general is very bright and very, very weird, and no one has been able to put that on screen properly. This lovely set of armor came from here. Hellenic Armors, an entire person and site dedicated to reconstructing ancient armor. It's gorgeous, it's stunning, please go take a look, give them lots of traffic and business. This is another incredibly appropriate option for anyone doing battle during or shortly after the Trojan War. So, any of the individuals duking it out during the Iliad or the Odyssey could be dressed like this, and this would be 100% appropriate. Here's a fun variation of that armor set in action, because at first people thought that that armor was a bit weird and a bit clunky and probably for ceremonial use because it was found in a grave, not necessarily meant for action, but they tested it. We're keeping with the bone and shell decoration theme that started in the Neolithic before, so we're keeping a lot of those themes from that period in the Bronze Age. So decorative options are going to be bone, teeth, tusk, and a lot of horns, because bulls were a huge theme in the Neolithic, and that continued right into the Bronze Age, especially in ancient Anatolia, which is where a lot of this action happened. And that's another thing. We need to properly set the scene, set the world. This is what our Bronze Age needs to be. It needs to be really bright, really colorful, really weird, a little psychedelic too. It's not this. This is classical Greece. But again, no one has had the courage to bring us the Bronze Age properly on screen. So again, classical Greece. This is where we get our Athens and our Spartas and our Corinths and everyone doing their sort of very classically Greek-y things. That's when this happens. At the very beginning of this period, which is called the Archaic period, that was when the Iliad and the Odyssey were first written down. They existed